Hello everybody. Today we're here to talk about this. This is my Mockins um, Class 2 Hitch carrier, or Class 3 I think that the 2-inch receiver is, Hitch carrier um, that I got and showed you an assembly video of previously. Back then I stated that I thought it would probably be a pretty good unit. It looked good, it looked well built, solidly constructed, and I was not hesitant at all to take it on my family vacation. Well, my family and I did go on that vacation. We drove 5,162 miles with that sticking out the back of that car. Um, it did just fine, really. It is well built. Had no troubles along the way, except for a couple of little things that we will talk about. Um, I have, like you see, this 2015 Volvo S60. It sets pretty low down to the ground. It's not an SUV that sets up high. The hitch on it is not high. It is really close to the ground. One of the things I liked about this Mockins hitch carrier is that it didn't stick straight out from the car so that when you put weight on it, it would sag down. It actually angled up a little bit so that when you put weight on it, it would set even. And it did. It set even after it was weighted. And that's even after I took these bins. I had 4 of these bins, which fit perfectly in here. Well, most part. The last 2 had to be kind of angled in ever so slightly. And then I took ratchet straps and strapped all 4 of them down independently, and then went across lengthways to hold them all in place. They worked just fine. We went from Michigan past Devil's Towers. We went and saw some stuff like Old Faithful and all that, and went on over to California, to San Francisco. Now, if any of you guys have watched any TV shows or movies about San Francisco, you know a lot of the area has those hills that just drop, and then there's a street crossing, drop, street crossing. Also has Lombard Street, which is that zigzag street that you sometimes see people go down in movies and TV shows. So if you've got something that's mounted low to the ground and has the potential to drag, this is going to do it. In areas like that especially. As we went through in our travels, we did drag this thing several times. Many times. And it handled it just fine. The only thing I had to do was the piece right here, which is like a stabilizer that keeps it from vibrating and bouncing around. I just had to tighten the nuts up just because it shifted a little bit. So I took a wrench with me in advance just in case I needed to move that or tighten it up or something. So it was just, 2-minute fix, no big deal. But this thing, when you have it on a sedan, does drag. Let me show you. Now this is viewing the hitch carrier from what would be the bottom of it. If you're looking down at it, this goes into the receiver, this is the bottom. And as I look down here, there's these tabs that stick out so that when you flip this part up like this pin can then be located in here to keep it from flopping down. And that part works beautifully. So this is right next to the back of the car, but there were spots where I drug even this. Back here, drug many times. Even a couple of times each of these corners here drug as well. But overall, it survived everything just fine. Even after dragging this many times and hitting this, and I would try to minimize it instead of going straight in when like if we pulled into a hotel and it has that up to get up the drive, we would angle in instead of going straight up it so that you minimize your chances of dragging. You change your angle as you go in so that this doesn't hit on that lip of the drive. And we still drag. I can't count the number of times. We probably dragged this thing 30 or 40 times. It was that bad. But the only thing that came out of it was, really, other than a couple of scratches, this has a little bit more side play in it than it started out with. I think what it did is these opened up just a hair. So if I take this pin and bolt out, I could probably set this on the ground and just tap it with a hammer to squeeze it back in, and it would be fine. Weld held up just fine and all that. This opened up just a hair, and what that does is when you take this cotter pin out, pull this pin, it allows this to rotate like stick straight up like this, and this pin would then line up with this hole, and that basically takes your thing and stands it straight up, just like it is. It stands it straight up so that it's not sticking out. And I had one parking lot where I had to offload and do that, and it still drug these tabs right here. It didn't matter. So, but if I wouldn't have done that, it would probably broken that bar completely off down there. It was bad. Complaints, other than having a sedan that has such a low hitch and having to deal with that, this pin right here, when you've got it installed, is a little bit hard to get out. This cotter, I ended up always having to like stick a key through it to get leverage. If this were longer, and I could probably just replace this with an aftermarket pin of some sort, so I got something to grab onto, that would make this a lot easier. And this pin, since this now has side play in it, when you flip it to line either one of these up, you got to wiggle it to get it in place right now. It's not as precise as it was. I mean, minor stuff, but overall, it did exactly what I wanted it to. So, final thoughts on this thing. Is it worth the money? Yeah, I think it's worth the money. This comes with a variant that doesn't have the travel bag. I did not use the travel bag once. I would probably spend the money for just the hitch without the travel bag, because that does cost extra. I don't know if I'll ever use the travel bag, to be honest. The bins worked out so much better, and then each of the 4 people that traveled had their own bin to put clothes in, and I had my trunk relatively free for whatever I wanted to, and it worked beautifully. So that's it, really. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, and if you're looking at getting one of these and have a car, have something other than an SUV that has a higher hitch mount point, I wanted to give you guys an idea of what you were in store for. They are workable. Make sure you get one that does have that little elevation like that, so that when it's loaded, it does set more flat. Otherwise, you're going to have even more troubles. Otherwise, these things are awesome. I can see using this a lot now. It's so easy. I can pick it up just one-handed, except for I just knocked it over. Almost. It's real easy to carry. It's lightweight. I can stick it in the garage out of the way, and it's really out of the way. So if you're in the market and thinking about getting one of these things, I think you'll find 1,000,001 uses for them. Hopefully that helped you guys either avoid getting one if you don't want to drag it, or decide to get one if you need something for your vacation. I did see a lot of people with these on vacations, so they are quite popular, and they do work really well. So anyway, hope you got something out of this, and I will talk to you later.